In this video, I will be giving you my list of best rewatchable movies. Hey, it's me AP, and welcome back to another video. So, best rewatchable movies. My list today is a fantastic list, and I want to talk why I wanted to create this list and what is a rewatchable movie to me. So, for me, really, a rewatchable movie is something I can watch. I don't really need to know. I don't have to watch all a sequel, like a big franchise of movies. It can be just one movie I can put on. I don't have to worry about the plot. I can just watch it, and it's sort of like a comforting, relax movie. And that's what a rewatchable movie is. Something I can watch over and over again, and it is rewatchable. The story feels fresh to me every time, and the story doesn't feel like I've seen this movie before. Oh, I know what's going to happen here. It's not like that. I think certain movies you can't watch because once you know certain plots, certain twists and turns of a story, they feel old, and once you know them, you can't really have that rewatchable experience again. But I think for a rewatchable movie, differently, it's different. You can watch it every time, and it feels fresh. It feels like it's got that same energy from the first time you watched it, and that's what a rewatchable movie is to me. So first on the list is The Rock, the movie starring Nicolas Cage, Ed Harris, and Sean Connery. Sean Connery from Scotland. Land of the free, home of the brave. There's my Sean Connery impression for the day. You're welcome. So The Rock is a movie, I love this movie. I think it is a fantastic movie, directed by Michael Bay. I know he's not, some people have the views on Michael Bay as a director, but for me, what can I say? It's no Transformers, Transformers is a bag of garbage. This is not. This is a bag of gold. It's a bag of gold, it is. Bag of gold. The Rock, I love the story. It's an action movie. It's a rewatchable movie. The story is, Sean Connery's character is, this convict who's in prison. He's been in prison for years. But he's like one of the only men who escaped from Alcatraz prison. And then Ed Harris' character, he is like this commander, this general within the army, the US Army, and he turns into this terrorist to take over Alcatraz, Alcatraz prison, which is now like a tourist destination within this movie. And then Nicolas Cage they're going to do like a weapon launch on the city nearby. I can't remember what the city is. I think it's San Francisco. That is the city. And Nicolas Cage is like this super scientist character within this movie. Him and Connery's characters sort of get intermingled together on this mission to try and break into the prison to try and deactivate all of the missiles. And it's the action sequences are great. It's a good story. I think the duo of Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage it's an unlikely duo, but I think it works really well within The Rock. And as I said, it's just one of those movies, I know the story going in, but every time I rewatch it, I just get that sort of, like, the awe experience, like, oh, whoa, like, oh, that's ace. I don't actually do that. I mean, I do it in my mind, mentally, but I don't do it when I'm watching the movie. Most of the time, my mouth is shut when I'm watching a movie, so you don't get ahs and ahs, but you get them mentally inside the think zone. The next movie on the list of my best rewatchable movies is Star Wars: A New Hope. For me, Star Wars: A New Hope, it really sums up what Star Wars is. Obviously, it's the first movie in the franchise. It sums up the franchise to what it is, but it also works as a singular movie. George Lucas he written this movie as it's like a one and done thing, really. It was like it's meant to be this Flash Gordon inspired movie of like the old Flash Gordon movies and TV shows, and I think the story was like originally it was like Darth Vader was never written in to be Luke's father. This was like, and like the whole plot of like Leia and Luke being brother and sister was all done in Empire, but this was all meant to be very much a singular movie. And if you watch it with that idea of them, of like Darth Vader not being Luke's father, if you watch that, you sort of you can see a different movie in watching A New Hope, and it's interesting when you watch it like that with that idea and the thought of it maybe being a different sort of future for these movies. But I think it's a great movie. It's a great story, very it's a simple story. They gotta like destroy the Death Star. That's the story, and it's a fantastic story. It's the coming of age of Luke Skywalker, and it's the coming together of three friends in Leia, Han, and Luke, and let's count Chewie in as well as the friendship group. It's a four-person friendship, really. He always gets forgotten, Chewbacca. But I enjoy it. I think it's got, when you compare it to other Star Wars movies, I love Empire as well. Don't get me wrong, Empire is a great movie, and it's another one I would rewatch. But A New Hope for me is the Star Wars movie that I can just put on. If I was gonna grab any Star Wars movie to just put on, just to relax, just get a bit of entertainment, it's gonna be A New Hope. It's just something that always draws me to A New Hope. I think it's because it is like the start of the franchise, the start of the story, and it's got one of my most favourite characters, Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is my one of my favourite characters in movies. Obi-Wan Kenobi by Alec Guinness, anyway. The Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan Kenobi is just... I always think I would love to be... I want to grow into being an Obi-Wan type of guy. He's always been that guy to me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That character is something I think we should always aim to be like Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because he's such an enlightened and stoic man he's very zen, and he's the kind of guy I inspire to always be like. The next movie I want to talk about is Back to the Future, and for me, one of the best trilogies in movie history. And Back to the Future is a great movie. I think from start to finish, it's just so fun and entertaining. The characters of Doc and Marty. Marty, what's up, Doc? Marty, you gotta go back to the future. There's my Doc Brown impression. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I think it's such a entertaining movie. Like I said, from start to finish, it just drags you right into it, right into the story. And when they're going back in time, going through the DeLorean, and and when Marty's there in the past, and he's meeting his parents, and he's got to save his own future, save his life in the future, or it'll become nothing, and the future, what he'd known, will just disappear. It's a great story. You know what the story is going to be about. It's Back to the Future. He's got to save the future. It's what the story's end is going to be. And every time, I watch it, I know what the story is, but I can just watch it and just be like, yeah, I can just relax and say, this is just the best. I think, really, this is probably the most rewatchable movie of all time, Back to the Future. I think everyone would say that. A lot of people probably just watch Back to the Future 1 and skip the other two if they're doing like a rewatch through movies. You can watch it alone on its own. It works singular. It works as its own thing, and it works within the trilogies as well. But it's definitely up there as one of the best rewatchable movies on my playlist. The next movie I want to talk about is one of my most favourite Disney movies, one of my most favourite animated movies of all time, and one of my best rewatchable movies, and it is The Lion King, the original one, not the photorealistic lions of the new Disney movie. I didn't really care too much for the new Disney movie, and after watching that, I will always now go back to the old movie. The old movie for me was always something I watched growing up. I used to always watch it as a kid. I watch it as an adult. It's something I've tried to embrace my younger family members to watch now, and they love it as well, my niece and nephew, and it's something I get a lot of joy out of watching The Lion King. The songs, fantastic. The story's really a nice coming-of-age story. Simba, he sees the death of his father, and then he goes into the spur, he goes into the wasteland, meets Timon and Pumbaa, sort of becomes a lion, becomes a man lion, if you like, and then his story then brings him back to facing the man who he used to be, or to face his past, really, and to face Scar, who he didn't know at the time killed or orchestrated the death of his father, Mufasa. And such a heart, it's got a movie. It's a movie. I don't think you can say a lot about animated movies. Most, I think there's definitely a few out there, but I think with animated movies, it's hard to get a story that's got a lot of heart in it and a lot of emotion attached to it. But I think Lion King does that. It's got a ton of emotion connected within the story with Simba and his sort of like, return to Pride Rock and to saving the rest of the lions there. But it's also got some great humour in it as well with Timon and Pumbaa. The songs had a lot of humour and a lot of, smiley faces throughout watching it for me anyway. So for me, I can watch it over and over again, Lion King, and I do to this day. I watch it a few times a year. I enjoy it, and I think it's just a great rewatchable movie. Next on the list is one of my most favourite superhero movies of all time, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, wow, it was a long shot when this movie was first talked about and we seen like the concept art for this movie. I'd never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy before, the characters, and I think a lot of people were probably in the same boat, and I can't imagine that the people at Marvel ever thought that this movie would be so successful. This movie just, come out and people loved it. I think the teasers, the trailers beforehand really, they went big time with the trailers for this movie and promoting this movie. And it paid off. It paid off big time. It's a great, fantastic Marvel movie. It opens, the gates of these cosmic movies they were talking about for so long, going in a different direction with the superheroes. But it really, reignited, and it sort of ignited the movies that we see now. The likes of Ant-Man, who is, again, a very unknown character to a lot of people. It's no Spider-Man or Captain America or X-Men. And like characters like Doctor Strange, we wouldn't have seen these movies without Guardians of the Galaxy. It really opened the door to a lot of new movies being released by Marvel. They took a huge gamble, and it paid off massively. James Gunn directs this movie. It's a great story by him, well directed by him. Chris Pratt in the role of Star-Lord. That guy is... I like Parks and Recreation with Chris Pratt in. I think he's a very funny actor. And in this movie, man, he just nails that role of Star-Lord and just really brings in a lot of entertainment to that movie. But even with the characters like Groot and Rocket Raccoon and Dave Bautista, who would have thought Dave Bautista... I'm a wrestling fan, and I would never have thought Dave Bautista, who plays Drax, would ever be that guy. I wouldn't have said he could have been that comedy guy within this movie, but also like this badass character as well. It's obviously he was a badass, but just like the humor in it. It was a huge gamble. They took a lot of these people who were taking a gamble on, like Chris Pratt. No one really, people who watch Parks and Rec would know who Chris Pratt is, but apart from that, you'd be like, who's Chris Pratt? And it made him a star from this movie. Zoe Saldana as well, she's in it. She is fantastic as well. Obviously, the lady who was in, the actress who was in Doctor Who, brain went blank, and Jumanji as well. I can't think of her name, but again, it's a great story. It sets up Thanos as well as the villain, more so for the ever-growing story of the MCU leading up to Endgame. But yeah, it's a rewatchable movie for myself. I watched it at the cinema at the time. I thought, I nearly exploded out my seat with excitement of watching that movie at the cinema. And then when I watched it again and again, I remember getting it on DVD the Christmas it came out, and just like watching it on Christmas Day and then rewatching it consistently over the months after that. And even to this day, it's probably up there with like Ant-Man as one of my most rewatchable Marvel movies, and I think that's why it is on this list of best rewatchable movies. So the last movie I want to talk about on my list of best rewatchable movies is a movie I used to watch a ton of times as a kid, and I think, I don't probably watch it as much as I do now, but again, it's a movie I will always rewatch, probably like once a year maybe. But Cool Runnings, the story of the Jamaican bobsleigh team. It's a story where, it's got John Candy in it. He is the coach within this story. John Candy. Is it John Candy or John Gandy? I think it's John Candy. I may be wrong, but let's go with John Candy. If I'm saying it wrong, I do apologise. But yeah, sorry, John Candy is the coach of this team. it starts off with the story of these like 3 runners who are in the Olympic qualifying race, and they all fall at the hurdle at the end, and then basically they can't get to the Olympics, and then there's this idea, let's start a Jamaican bobsleigh team. Let's start a Jamaican. This is a true story as well. Let's start a Jamaican bobsleigh team in a country where there's no snow, and that's the humor in this story. Again, it's a true story, but there's a ton of comedy in this story. It's a comedy movie, but it also has got some very dramatic moments as well in with it. So basically, they qualify for the Olympics. John Candy is the coach. He coaches them. They get to but they got a lot of enemies. There's like the German, the best bobsleigh driver of all time. He doesn't take a liking to them. One of the guys' dads is like, he wants him to go into like a business career. The coaches don't like John Candy's character because he cheated at the Olympics years ago. So it's like they don't have a lot. So they don't really have a lot of fans in support of them. But they have the people at home who support them and watching them on TV. But they're not respected, and they do awful at the start. But then they sort of grow as a team, and they get better. They get more serious, and they actually become a good team and a good bobsleigh team. And throughout the movie, you see them getting better. And then basically, on the last, the film's finale is so heartwarming to me, and it gives me goosebumps talking about it every time. But when they're having a really good race, but the bobsleigh is this old bobsleigh, and it starts to fall apart, and then it falls apart, and basically they crash on the final bit, and then they get up, and everyone's watching. They're all like, "Are you dead?" And then one of the characters, he's like, "Sanka, are you dead?" And he's like, not yet. I'm not dead yet." And they're like, "We've got to finish the race." And they get up and they lift up the bobsleigh, and they walk, and you got the music, the emotional music hitting as they're walking through the crowd. And they've seen all these characters that throughout the movie have doubted them, and the crowds are obviously as well. And then next minute, you see them lifting it, and obviously there's a lot of heartwarming emotion within them. And then the German, like, the guy who's like the German driver who doesn't like him throughout the movie, he shows respect and he starts clapping. And then next minute you see like all the other people, like the people who didn't like the coach, they start clapping. And then the father, he starts clapping. Everyone's clapping, and then they make it to the end. Like, it's gonna be goosebumps now. We're talking about this, making me emotional speaking about this movie. Again, this is a Disney movie, but it's got so much emotion within it, and it's got comedy. It's got tons of humor in this. If you describe Cool Runnings, you'd say it's a comedy movie, but it's got a lot of like dramaful moments in it as well. And it's obviously it's paying ode to a true story, and I imagine there's a lot of things within the story that's been storied up, and there's probably been elements put in there for humour. But I think it is just such a great movie, great story, and it's a rewatchable movie. I can watch that again and again, and I'll still feel them goosebumps. I'll still just get that joy and energy, positive energy out of watching that movie. I really adore Cool Runnings as a movie. Growing up, as I said, and even as an adult, I might not watch it as much now, but for me, it's still a rewatchable movie, and it's on my list of best rewatchable movies. If you enjoyed this video today, please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more movie-related videos, and don't forget to click on that notification bell as well. And if you want to support this channel as well, more so, you can support me by clicking on the Amazon affiliate links below. Once you click on one of them and buy something through them links, I get a small percentage of that money, and it goes to supporting me and supporting the channel and creating more content for you. So it's always much appreciated. So that's that. That's the video for today, and I would love to know what your best rewatchable movies are. Was there any from my list today? And what are your suggestions? I want to know what you think is the most rewatchable movie and why. Why is it a rewatchable movie to you? So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the list, and maybe if you've not seen any from this list, you'll maybe give them a watch now and make that one of your now best rewatchable movies. Thanks for watching.